This is a true crime discussions channel. We speculate. This is all just speculation. Because it's true crime, it's for mature audiences only. There will be no children allowed, no exceptions. Everything on this channel falls under fair use. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's free. Hey y'all, happy Saturday. Today is Saturday, July 5th. Today is actually a member of my household's birthday. Yay, happy birthday. Okay, it's good to see y'all. I'm glad y'all are here. Satin OW. Artemis, back from the wilderness. I love the wilderness. How was your time in the wilderness? Starting over. I apologize. Starting over 2025. Good to see you. I'm glad you had fun. Lorraine, good afternoon. Crystal, hello. Good to see you. Hey, Kathleen and Cindy from sunny South Florida. My lovely Abellis is here. A name here. Good to see you. I'm so glad y'all are here. Oh, you did? Okay, so a name here. I've never watched the behavioral panel, so I thought that maybe we could do it together and I could react in real time and we could all learn about it together. So I thought that might be interesting. Hey, one sunny day. Hello, Joyous in. Good morning. Good morning. Allegedly speculating is here. Queen Olive Ruth Ann, Jennifer Collins. Good to see you. Good morning. Cara's here, my love. Good to see you. Southern Cats. Good to see you. Let me keep it scrolling. Avril is here. I used to love Avril Lavigne. Lori Ann, when I was a teenager. Hey, Kimmy C123, Miss King of Anything, Scratch the Paint, Jill Corby, Peace, Lori. Good to see you. Carolina, good to see you. Oh my goodness, Cindy already came through and dropped 5 memberships. That was so very sweet and supportive of you, and I really appreciate that. If you guys were gifted from Cindy and you are aware you were gifted, please tell Miss Cindy thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Cindy. And I will grab the crazy train to pick y'all up on the way to Speculation Station. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. Thank you so much, Miss Cindy. That was so awesome. I'm so glad. I love it when y'all gift memberships. Hey, Hannah UK. Because then somebody, gets to look at all the geese and all of that. Dainty Dane, good to see you. Miss Sarah, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. I hope you have a good day. Curious Christine, Joy, good to see you. Anders, good to see you. In the wilderness, you do have to dig a hole before you take a crap. You do. Reminds me of that famous saying, does a bear poop in the woods? Okay. I do have YouTube pulled up. Hold on. Oh, I got it on my playlist. What am I doing? I did want to show y'all. I want to talk about this situation that is breaking kind of right now. I don't know much about it. I do need to grab my coffee. Well, you know what? I really don't want to miss it. Give me just a minute. I'm going to grab my coffee. Let's see what I don't want to leave you with nothing. Lordy have mercy. Let's do this. Let's go to my channel and look at a members only video for a second while I grab my coffee. That was 2 weeks ago. I got another one I need to put out 6 days ago, 27 minutes. We'll start with this real quick, but I'm only going to play it long enough for me to grab my coffee. Why is it not on this page? I went on the wrong page. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to play this while I grab my coffee. Hold on. Good morning. It is like 8:30, June 27th, 2025. Wanted to give y'all a garden update. Now, I had surgery on my mouth. So, the garden is a little bit unkempt, and it's amazing to me. It's been like maybe a week that I haven't done anything up here, and it's already just all out of sorts. But we got a lot going on, so let's talk about it. The okra is doing good. I did see a bloom coming. Looks like there's some baby. Those won't be okras yet. I wish my phone would focus. They'll be little flowers. Okay. I did see one bloom. I think it's that one right there. See if I can get it to focus. You see those? Those will be flowers. and then they'll turn into okra. And the okra will be orange. That color, like red there, it's really pretty. There's another one. There's
Okay.
another one of the blooms right here. When them okra bloom, it is like so pretty. I'm gonna get one and show it to you guys. All right, let's go back to the playlist. So, as you know, there was flooding in South Texas. Where did my comments go? Oh, okay, I was on the wrong side. I know I love fresh veggies from the garden too, and it's all organic. I just got a bunch of corn. That's the update I got to put out showing y'all the corn. Hey, Boomer, good to see you. Snarky Pants, good to see you. I hope that was okay while I walked and got my coffee. All right. So, as I'm sure a lot of you know, there was unfortunately a lot of flooding in southern Texas. And there are some children that are missing
Right now, that scenario
from a summer camp, and I saw this video um, that I wanted to look at with you guys. I haven't looked into who exactly is missing. I know that some of them have been confirmed dead, unfortunately, and my heart goes out um, to those people. And I'm really concerned about it. June, thank you for being here. Said please pass that to Ada K on YouTube. Is covering the flood in Kernerville, Texas. I'm just trying to get the information out to help support the city. She is donating all of her super chats to the victims. That is amazing. I actually know somebody. I think she talks to Ada K, one of my mods. So I'll definitely make sure that I can get it to her if she's probably in here, just not talking yet. Um, and I'll do my best to make sure that I can get it to her. Hey, Jenny, Jen, and Tom, that flood was horrible. My heart goes out to everyone affected. I know it's horrible. It really is. So I saw this and I thought we'd watch it real quick. I did see a picture of two of the children victims that were, just at a Christian summer camp enjoying their summer, and it's really scary inside. I went to a 4-H camp like every summer when I was a kid, and I went to a Christian summer camp too in South Carolina with my friend when I was younger. I remember that the horse flies would bite us when they would call us out of the water. That was back when they were doing head counts. We'd get called out every 45 minutes so they could count our heads and make sure nobody drowned. I mean, I guess we was old school. I don't know, but it's just devastating to think that you send your kids to summer camp so they can enjoy themselves, and then this happens. I'm just really upset. 23 children are missing right now, said Dainty Dane. Yeah, the kids are missing in the flood from a summer camp, Christian summer camp, from what I understand. It is very terrible, and I'm praying that the kids are located and found and that they can be reunited with their parents. So I figured we watch this real quick and then we'll go to the behavior panel.
right now, that scenario is all too real. Serena Aldridge, the mother of two campers who were at Camp Mystic, the camp I was just talking about a moment ago, where girls remained missing when the heavy rain began. Her daughters, one aged 9 years old, the other 12 years old, were rescued and taken to safety. Serena joins us now with this incredible story. Serena, first and foremost, how are your girls doing right now?
A lot better than I thought they would be. They're glad to be home and worried about their friends, but they're strong.
Can you describe to us, as best you understand it and as best you have talked to your girls, what they experienced, what they heard? Did they get a warning, an alarm of any sorts when this flash flooding event began?
No, my 12-year-old on what's called Senior Hill, they were woken up by lightning and thunder. My 9-year-old on the flats was woken up by a friend. Water was coming into the cabin. Their counselors, I should say, saved all of those girls' lives, broke windows to get them out the back of the cabin and back towards these cabins line up along kind of, we'll say, an embankment that then goes all the way up to sky high where the Mystic sign is. And the girls ended up climbing all the way to sky high. Half of them had no shoes on, but they were.
Oh my God. So it sounds like, basically to recap, real quick, before I recap that, I wanted to say, Miss Sarah said, the Ryan Hall, y'all, YouTube uses their foundation and chat donations for storm relief. I don't know if y'all watched Ryan Hall, y'all. I think most people know who he is. He's like a meteorologist, and he does really good. You can get a lot of information. They chase storms. They'll let you know about anything going on in the area. Mr. Speculating watches him all the time. I know. It's so sad, and I'm glad that those see, when I went to the 4-H camp, I was a counselor in training, and I'm glad that they had enough training to know, because they're usually like young adults that, are legally able to take care of children, but, young adult, like I said, I was like 14 or 15, and I was a counselor in training one year. Um, but anyway, I'm glad that they had enough, knowledge to break the windows, get the kids out, and then walk them up to a high embankment and save them. I mean, how grateful do we need to be to those people who did that and got those kids out of there instead of, freaking out themselves or trying to just save themselves and not necessarily the children. I'm really glad they did that. And then those girls walking up probably a pretty steep, embankment to get out of the flooding. And thank God they got up high enough. I saw what it looked like, a house being swept away in that flood. Oh my goodness, it's scary. We had flooding out in the mountains of North Carolina, and that was when I first started my channel. We raised $550, and I donated it to the church that was getting propane and things like that out to victims. There was a baby that died in the tent out there in North Carolina, in my state, North Carolina, in the mountains, because it froze to death. And we shared the link to buy propane on Amazon so they could have heat, and we sent $550. And anyway, I'm just really grateful that these camp counselors were able to get these children out, because thank God that they were saved, and now hopefully we can find the other ones and they'll be okay.
All safe.
You said the counselors broke windows to get your daughters and other girls out safely. Do you know how many girls they were able to gather and get to higher ground?
The whole cabin. I know that 3 girls were separated as they were climbing up the hill, that they were found by other counselors and all reunited at the top of what's called Sky High.
How, your daughters right now, I imagine you don't want to dig too deep with them. The trauma is still fresh and still real. Do they know any of the girls who are missing at this hour? We still understand there are more than 20 young girls who are at this camp still unaccounted for.
They know a couple of them, but those are the youngest first-year campers. And my 9-year-old, this was her 2nd year, and my 12-year-old, this was her 5th year. They said that they had met a couple of them in their activities. They had just finished their first week of activities there.
At what point did you know your daughters were safe? And can you tell us how they were actually able to get out with search and rescuers?
They took their 2nd helicopter ride ever to get away from camp and to get to, I'm not sure where they took them, and then they were bused into Ingram Elementary School. I knew as of a little after 9 o'clock this morning that they were safe and accounted for.
I imagine you have hugged your daughters tight tonight, knowing that they're safe back with you. When you think about the other moms,
they could have drowned.
Yeah. When you think about the other moms right now, and parents and relatives who do not have their children home with them, what are your thoughts and words to them?
All I can do is pray for them and be grateful and blessed for mine to be home, and wish that I could undo all of this for them.
I understand.
I could imagine. I would be so grateful that my children were home, but how do you even begin to explain to them what happened? And, the other survivors, the other victims. I mean, oh my goodness, it's so sad. Curious Christine said, you think camp is a place that you at least don't have to worry about your kids? Nobody thinks of a dang flood. Exactly. I mean, of all the places, a summer camp, that's where they're supposed to be safe and just enjoy their summer and have fun. And then this happens. It's sad.
You attended Camp Mystic as a child. I think your sister was even a camp counselor, is a camp counselor there. She
was supposed to get there today because she was arriving late. And I called her and my dad and my stepmom, and she didn't end up driving there.
Oh my goodness. Thankfully so. Who knows what could have happened?
Mm-hmm.
Had you ever experienced anything like this? And when you try to put yourself in your daughter's shoes, having lived at that camp before and experienced what it's like to be there, what are your thoughts?
I mean, there's always been flooding there, but not like that. I remember being on Senior Hill, that they were still able to truck over breakfast for us, and we were just stuck in our cabins for the day.
Well, that's a little bit concerning. If there's always been an issue of flooding there, then I don't know. I mean, that is concerning. I would hope. I, I wonder if my question now is, did we have levees and dams in place just to be safe? Carolina said, I am a hurricane evacuee or survivor from Katrina and Rita. Please, everyone who lives in these areas that are being affected by heavy rainfall, please trust your first instinct. And if you don't want to leave, have sufficient supplies, and please stay tuned to your local weather forecast. Mother Nature has no choice of people when she becomes furious. Believe she does. I'm so glad that you were okay and survived, and I think that is very accurate information. Something that we do, because hurricanes, they aren't as bad as some places, but we do get hit by hurricanes a lot here in North Carolina. So in our household, we always have I think I have like 6 gallons of water, which is not even how much we're supposed to have. It's supposed to be like 2 or 3 gallons per person per day. I've got 1 gallon per person per day right now. We have a radio that, like, you wind it up like a national service radio, but like you don't have to charge it or anything. You like wind it up, and then it uses that to get service. And we have it in a book bag. We've got freeze dried food that we can cook. We've got a propane, and then like the burner thing that goes on the little propane can. So just try to have something ready like that just in case you ever need it. It's easy to get to. You can grab it and run. That would be important no matter where you're at. 1 gallon per person per day is what to have. Okay. I thought it might be more. Hey, the Jersey lady. So there's been flooding there before. I'm not sure I would send my kids to a camp where this is a problem. Yeah, it's concerning. I'm thinking about the location. Like maybe they didn't want to move the camp, but it is concerning that there had been flooding there before.
There was one summer, I think I skipped that summer to go do an abroad program when I was in high school, and they were zip lining food across to Senior Hill. So flooding is not an unknown thing there, but obviously never to this extent. At least I think since the 30s.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below.
I don't know why it's so loud when they do their outro. Joy said, if you're near a river, it can happen and happen fast. This happened in Arkansas years ago, and the campground is still closed due to loss of lives there. That's so sad. Yeah, I've been speculating. I went out to Arkansas to meet his family, and we went by. He actually used to work the Arkansas River. He used to dredge it. They would dredge it, and he's talked about like welding the boat because water was coming in. I don't know. He's told me about it, but I can't recall everything off of the top of my head. But we saw the Arkansas River and stayed at like a campground off the side of it there, and they were fishing. His parents fish a lot. They actually catch fish and go sell them. But I was just like, I'd never seen a river like in person that was so big and moving so fast, and it was scary kind of. And like if you think about flooding, like, oh my God. I mean, they talked about that campground had been flooded out before. I'm not a crazy prepper, but believe me, I have basics prepared. Yeah. And we need to. I just bought the wind-up radio last week. I already have a smaller solar one plus a battery one. I've lived through many hurricanes, so very scary. It is. Yeah, in Florida, y'all are definitely more apt to be hit by hurricanes. It's bad down there. Okay. I did see, because she comes up on my my feed, I saw that she posted J for Justice. Maybe. Oh, let me do. Okay, why is it not showing up? Hold on. I gotta find it. Hold on. What? I hope that. Well, maybe she took it down. All right. Well, let's go back this way. People's channel's been getting hit, evidently. So, okay, we've got this clip that shows us some of the victims, and then we'll go to the behavior panel.
Including several here in North Texas, hoping to hear good news about their missing loved ones.
And Fox 4's Peyton Yeager is in studio tonight with more. Peyton.
Hi, Heather. We know families of the Camp Mystic girls who are they're stationed at a nearby elementary school in Ingram, where the rescued girls will be dropped off. I've been in touch with some parents who are still waiting for any information on their missing children. Those missing girls haven't made any contact since early this morning. Hours of agony for panicked parents of children at the all-girls summer camp, Camp Mystic in.
Look how high that water is. Like, that's a freaking mountain over there, and these are the tops of trees. And if it's a campground out there, I mean, they're them trees. It's a campground. It has been a campground since the mother was a child. So them trees are pretty tall, and you can just see the tops of them, and that's a freaking mountain over there.
Hunt, Texas, after catastrophic flooding along the Guadalupe River. Around 7 Friday evening, Texas game wardens announced they made entry into Camp Mystic with vehicles and were bringing campers out. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick announced just hours earlier the summer camp housed more than 750 girls, but around 24 campers were still unaccounted for. Among the missing, girls from North Texas. This includes Eloise Peck on the left and Lila Bonner on the right. Both.
Oh my God, I hope they find them.
Are from Dallas. Also from Dallas, 8-year-old Hadley Hannah. Her father is on the ground in Kerr County. Also, Fort Worth Mayor Maddie Parker posted to X, "We have Fort Worth families impacted specifically by missing girls at Camp Mystic."
So it says at Fort Worth Fire has deployed 2 teams to the Texas Task Force, a total of 15 divers and swift water team members. We have Fort Worth families impacted specifically by missing girls at Camp Mystic, praying for our first responders.
As search and rescue efforts continued on Friday, desperate family members rushed to the flood zone. A Burleson family made the trip to Kerr County, hoping to find Joni and Robert Brake. The couple staying at an RV park off the river where cabins were washed away. But they haven't made contact with family since the early morning hours.
Debris floating in the river, so you never know what's floating. If it's a tree, we've seen RVs, we've seen refrigerators.
Elizabeth Copeland is from Prosper. Her family traveled to a Kerrville RV park to celebrate the 4th. It now looks like this.
I didn't even think about that. There's a lot of families out there camping and vacationing for the 4th. Like I said earlier, we're going camping next week only because I would have already been there. We are there every year at this time. I just tried to get my spot too late, and all the spots were taken. So there's, and that's going to be all over the country because of the 4th. So it means that more people were out by the river, by the waterways, in campgrounds and RVs and things like that. So it makes it worse. Prosper is just north of me. I hope that are you doing okay, Joy? Have you been? I think you had said that you had seen a few things, but it wasn't that bad. If I remember from yesterday, I apologize. My memory's not always that great. I hope they find all the kids too. Extremely dangerous work diving in those waters. Currents, logs to snag you. Yeah, and I mean, add in cars, campers. God only knows what is going to be coming flying at you through the water that's floating or even underneath. Oh, thank you, Abelis. I will do my best. No, we're good here in DFW. Okay, good. They are so very powerful, and it's hard to get out of them once you get caught. But I didn't even think about all the people that are out there celebrating the 4th of July. I mean, campgrounds are packed right now, and a lot of times they're right by the river. So I hope everybody's okay.
The Copelands are safe, holding their boys tighter tonight.
Trying to keep your kids calm in a very chaotic situation.
And back to the missing campers, I've been hearing from families from Houston, San Antonio, and also Beaumont who haven't heard from their children either. It's a very fluid situation. But for tonight, those parents, they are sitting and waiting at that elementary school in Kerr County. Heather, back to you.
Well, our prayers go out to the victims of the flood and their families and those girls at the summer camp. I can't even express to you guys how concerned I am about those girls at the summer camp. I mean, because I've done that for a long time, and it's just so scary to think that when you send your child somewhere like that.
Today we're going to talk about Malehya Brook.
That you think is safe and good for them to be out in the wilderness away from electronics and all of that, and then something like that happens. Curious Christine said, yes, let's send our protection, feelings, and vibes for all of them. Yes, please. Boomer said, my dad, 86, survived Hurricane Maria in 2007 in PR. The island is still feeling the repercussions years later. Oh my goodness. I'm glad your dad was okay. It's crazy. Hurricane Fran came through. I remember that. I was young when Hurricane Fran came through, but Hurricane Fran was really bad for us. I remember the power going out, and when I was younger, and we couldn't take showers and things. I was just a child then, so it didn't impact me. I remember what my mom did and us being without power. And then one hit. I'll tell you another story that's kind of interesting. One hit us, me and Mr. Speculating, when the kids were a bit younger. I remember the 9-year-old was probably about 2 or 3. Power was out for a week. Now, Mr. Speculating has always been somewhat of a, not necessarily prepper, but he's always very prepared. So we had propane burners, propane tanks. We had the camping stuff. I mean, if you go camping a lot, you usually have supplies like that on hand. But the kids were still really little, and I've always made fabric, used fabric to make blankets or pretty paper, things like that. I had this box, if I was done using something, some fabric or some paper, I only used a little bit of, I would put it in this box, string, little wire, the colored wire. I used to make bracelets out of that. And I had this box, and it was called the Imagination Box. And I got the box out when the power was out, and they sat there down there. They made skirts, they made little statues, they just made so many cute little things, and it kept them busy for 3 or 4 days while the power was out. It was adorable. So that's another thing. If you have extra stuff laying around that you can give the kids and then just tell them to use their imagination and make whatever they want, that's something that you can do to keep them busy. I know. I'm so glad that your parents were okay. Women's Euro football tournament. Awesome. Netherlands just beat Wales 3-0. Awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about the behavior panel. They go over what I believe it says: missing children, truth or performance. Malehya Brooks Murry interview examined. So this is going to be Greg Hartley, Chase Hughes, I can't see his name, and Scott Rouse. I've never watched the behavior panel, but you guys have told me so much about it that I wanted to watch it with you guys, and I thought we would discuss it. I am going to drop their link. I have accessed my live now, so I am here. So I'm going to pin their link at the top. They are also in the description box. If you have not subscribed to them, please do so. Hello, Janie. Janie said, I just saw the reconstruction to the Jersey Shore from Hurricane Sandy as I just came to visit from Utah. Oh my goodness. Does it look okay? Is it doing better? New York City was hit with floods 2 years ago that brought everyone to a stop from a serious downpours. It was crazy. That is crazy. Mark Bowden, thank you. I appreciate that. A name here, Annabellis. All right, so let's see what they have to say about Miss Malehya Brooks Murry.
Today we're going to talk about Malehya Brooks Murry. She's the partner of Daniel Martell.
Now, this says Scott Rouse, body language expert and analysis, trains law enforcement and military in interrogation and body language.
And their children are missing. Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
This is Mark Bowden, expert in human behavior and body language, communication coach to leaders of G7. I do believe that's military.
Watch.
Yeah, I believe they're stepchildren of Daniel Martell, but this is Lily and Jack Sullivan, who are.
This is Chase Hughes, #1 bestseller in behavior tactics, retired U.S. military and trainer to U.S. intelligence operatives.
This is their mother. She did one interview, and this is that interview. Very short. We're going to cut it into a couple of clips, and you can see what she had to say about the disappearance of her children.
Awesome.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them.
See, that's always been weird to me. They're not the type of kids we tell them not to go outside on their own. Well, if you're having to tell them not to go outside on their own, then that would make me think that they have gone outside on their own before. If we are, let me try to pull this up real quick. Hold on. So if we're having to tell them not to go outside on their own, that again tells me that they're going outside on their own or have done that before. And if we are, hold on, got to go way back. If we have a fence here that we're working on, because here are the boards, here is the sledgehammer, here's another sledgehammer, there appears to be a previous fence here, and this one is being built. So if we're building a fence and telling them not to go outside on their own, that would make me think that they have definitely went outside on their own before. Maybe you didn't find that much of an issue with it at the time because you're out in the country. But again, I do think that they went outside by themselves. And I think that she's trying to cover up for bad parenting. Or not necessarily, I don't even like to say bad parenting. I choose to say slightly neglectful. Because again, I'm a person that lives out in the country, and when you live way out in the middle of nowhere, it feels a lot safer for your children to be outside. So I tend to say slightly neglectful. However, I think that she's lying personally, just my input as of this moment.
Watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens.
Okay.
And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up, and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
So it's not the first time I've seen these videos, but first time I've spent any real time with them. I spent some time with Sadie on her channel, just quick looking and hip shooting. We don't control the questions in these conversations. So what we're doing is secondhand looking. So we have to look very carefully. So I took the approach to say, in interrogation, I typically spend about twice as long prepping as I do interrogating. And I spent about 10 minutes with each of these clips, this one today. This is an interesting one because if you just at the surface take it, it looks like a woman who's telling you her story where she's feeling like, hey, it's a bad situation. I'm sad. There's some grief muscle. There's some.
So he is seeing grief muscle. And that's interesting. He pointed to his forehead. So evidently there's a muscle in your forehead that shows grief. I was just sitting here thinking, I'm wondering if we're going to take culture into account for this. Because she is Canadian, and I don't want to sound stereotypical, but like most Canadians that I've ever met are very soft spoken, very polite. not necessarily nervous, but I think that again, she's soft spoken, polite, people, not necessarily people pleaser, but just I think it's part of the culture as well, not necessarily just her. I think everybody's like that. So I wonder if they're going to talk about that as of this moment right now.
Downright good eye accessing cues that tell us emotion, but there's something weird going on here. Did any of you guys notice the word and? Just quickly.
Okay.
Did you happen to count the numbers of ands? So in the first 10 seconds, there's one and. I miss them and I want them home. Okay, that's perfect. In the next 50 seconds are 9 ands. Nine. Might mean nothing, but it might also mean these are things I need to deliver in my story. So it immediately puts me on notice to pay really close attention to how many times she says and here, and then watch every other clip that comes up and say, is that baseline for her? Because she's from Nova Scotia. She's from a narrow little band of areas. And so I wonder about speech patterns. And
so there we go. He's talking about the speech patterns and things like that. Using and I find that interesting personally. I think it's again part of the culture, not necessarily specifically to Canada, more of like the generation. Our generation or our generation or even slightly younger uses and, like, even bruh, things like that a lot. Because I feel like our speech patterns have diminished over the years with, separate things or whatever. Either way, and like are used a lot by people of that generation. I assume, or that's what I pick up on. So I find it interesting that he's talking about the use of the word and. I'm interested to hear her other clips, or if there is any, if they have any, and what he has to say about that.
use of conjunctions and, as I would say, and. This is a lot of and.
Yeah, I don't.
The cadence is odd. She shifts gears when she goes from talking about missing the children to talking about what happened to that and boom, 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 boom. There's a cadence. If I heard this on a 911 call, I would be concerned that somebody's giving me a story. And maybe that's what she came here to do, is to give us a story, because people who are marginalized and deal with law enforcement may have a different opinion. If she's been talking to protective services, she may have a story planned.
And I think she does. Taking an interview in front of the news is definitely going to be a story. But I do find it interesting that he pointed out if it was a 911 call, he would be concerned. I never even thought about that. A name here said, we Canadians are laid back people until someone messes with us or our loved ones and friends. Our ancestors are the reason that the Geneva Convention was made. That is awesome. After World War I, our soldiers were brutal. Thank you for sharing that, a name here. It's a filler word. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, I don't watch them regularly, Joy, but I do find this information really intriguing.
So there's all kinds of reasons she could do it, but there's a lot of conditioning in here too. She tells a story and her detail is conditioned at every turn. I heard them playing, but I was drifting in and out of sleep. Not the kind of kids who go outside and we tell them not to go outside.
Right.
Happen to get out the sliding door. We can't hear it when it opens. That's a lot of conditioning. Instead of just saying, hey, we didn't hear them go out the door. They must have gone out when we were sleeping, something like that. So it doesn't mean that she's done anything. It means that I've got areas of focus. I want to turn over that rock and go after her. And this is in 1 minute of a clip. There's lots of tense change. I'm going to leave that to Chase, because Chase is usually on top of the tense change thing. She goes to real time, to current, to present tense when she's talking about going outside and looking for the children, and everything else is in.
So when he talks about the basically, I can't remember what he said, conditioning. I think basically, I think he's referencing the fact that she's like, again, they don't play outside, but we tell them not to. They open the door, we can't hear it. I guess in lamest terms, because I'm nowhere near as educated as these people are. Basically, she's over explaining in my thought process, and when I hear her talk, she's over explaining. They could have gotten out the glass door because we can't hear it. They might have played outside, but we tell them not to because we're always out there with them. They could have done this, but and again, I think it's to cover for quote unquote slightly neglectful parenting. So I picked up on that too, and I agree.
Past tense. Not her children. They're not in past tense. It's not what I'm talking about. And then the most pregnant thing I see in this entire thing, meaning I wanted to really dig in and pay attention to it, is she says they were outside playing. It's the only time we see her brow rise. So it's, for me, I'm not saying there's anything really, really brutal here that is telling me she did something to these children, and maybe she didn't do something. Maybe she knows something that she's not saying, but there's a whole lot of bizarre shift of gears from I miss my children to the and storytelling. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. So I want them home, and I want them home. That's the first and that we get. I think that and, just like you, I think that and is totally fine, because it's just she's run out of ideas and she's reinforcing the main idea, which is I want them home.
No, I like his accent. I love British accents, but I also find it interesting that we have different people on this panel. Obviously, the man that was speaking before him is American, and then he's going to be British or something of the sort. Forgive me if I don't have the accent accurate. I just think of British when I hear it. And so we're getting intellect and dialogue and perception from different areas of the world. And so that makes it more interesting for me to hear what not only this man who was educated and trained in America thinks, but also somebody who down here, Mr. Mark Bowden, who could have possibly been educated in America, but grew up in a different country with a different culture and things like that, sharing his expertise on this. I really find that interesting, and I like that.
This suggests she has a feeling that they can come home. So that's it. That's important.
Oh, really?
I want them home. There is a bitter taste in the mouth and lots of flexing in the throat. I think trying to control the tension in the throat there. Bitter taste could be disdain. I'll come back to why it might be disdain for I want them home. Yeah, I agree. Greg, I didn't count the ands, but there were enough in that storytelling, enough to make me go, there's something important with these ands. It doesn't feel to me like she's trying to hide time, though.
No, not at all.
No. Not at all. So we've got to go, so what else might these ands be about? And I think you're right, it's conditioning. So what is she conditioning? I think it's all about the justification of we're not bad parents.
I was muted, and there we go, talking about what I call slightly neglectful parenting, trying to cover for that. Hey, Tammy, good to see you. Sometimes I watch this channel. I'm not sure what they say is 100%. To me, just take their words. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me try that again, because evidently my eyes are not wanting to work with me. I sometimes watch this channel. I'm not sure what they say is 100% to me, and just take their comments and analyze if I agree with what I see. Interesting. And yeah, this is my first time watching them. I like everything that they have to say so far, and they do seem, I mean, they showed the extensive training that they had. So if I was going to believe anybody with behavior analysis and things like that, I mean, I think these would be the people to listen to, considering their extensive training and what they do for work. So I am glad that you guys have told me about them, so that I could watch them and draw my conclusions from them. I appreciate what they're picking on, because picking up on. It makes it honestly, I feel a little validated that they picked up on what I call slightly neglectful parenting. I feel a little validated in that right now. And that makes me feel positive about it. And I mean, I just feel like if you're going to be educated on something like this would be the place to go. That's what I'm feeling so far.
And I think if you look at that story, there'll be, this was happening, and here's a justification for, it's reasonable that we didn't hear them. It's reasonable that they're outside playing. It's reasonable, because I think if it is disdain, the disdain is around how other people will see her as a parent, because she's lost her kids, and that's the problem. You know, you have these kids, you know, you care for them, and or society's idea is you care for them. So society's main idea is you don't lose those things. Okay. And so I think there's a strong fear this will be looked upon badly. No.
I mean, yeah, typically I agree. And I appreciate that he's talking about society's views as well. I mean, yeah, typically you don't want to you lose your children. It's a scary situation, and it's you know, what were you doing that made you lose the children? How were you not paying attention to them enough that they got out of your sight? So yeah, I agree with what he's saying. Tammy said, "I'm so stuck on this case. I don't know if we can believe Daniel's mom's timeline or Daniel's mom timeline, or they are no longer with us." I honestly think that somebody grabbed them and they could possibly still be alive, but I don't think we'll find them alive. Um, and I hate to say that. I just statistically, it's not probable.
But it doesn't seem to me in this storytelling to be at a narcissistic level about this is all about me.
Right.
I think there is the tension between I want my kids back, and it looks really bad that I've lost my kids, and the societal pressure of that. So there's two pressures going on. Where are my kids? I want my kids back. And even just being on camera saying this looks so bad.
And I didn't even think about that. And I'm glad he pointed that out. Like yeah, I've lost my kids. Where are my kids? And now I've got to go online in front of this camera, in front of the nation, in front of the world, and tell them the story of how my children disappeared. And I'm already feeling bad for, again, quote unquote, slightly neglectful parenting. So yeah, it's a high stress moment, very tense, anxious. And we're going to expect to see that anyway in her body language because of this situation. And then taking on top of that, any other social cues or ways she's acting, it would be hard to decipher, in my opinion. I did mean kidnapped. Tammy, I apologize if I said something else. I think she blames the boyfriend. He was or volunteered to watch them while she slept. She does or did to have a newborn. I think so too. I think honestly that she might have been up and down all night with the baby because they were sick or whatnot. And the children got up that morning, and then she asked Daniel to keep an eye on them just so she could close her eyes for a few more minutes while the baby was laying down before she had to get up and take care of the baby. And I think that maybe at some point he came in the room and then she saw him sleeping or scrolling his phone and woke up and was like, "Hey, where are the kids?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then she's like, "You're supposed to be watching them. Where are they? What were you doing? Why are they not here?" Like, and so I do think that that's possibly what happened. Hey, Pandora. Pandora said, "Wow, I've been binging this channel for months." That is awesome. I really enjoy what I've heard so far, and I find it very informative.
Looks so bad, and at the same time, I need to, and I mean, for me to say out loud that
Oh, you're good.
you know, anybody would be worried about how it looks to other people. Of course, they'd be worried about how it looks to other people, and you want your kids back. There's so many conflicting things going on here.
The mainstream media is not broken at all. It is functioning exactly as it was designed. It exists to manipulate you, to divide you, to feed you fear and outrage and distraction while pretending all of that is information. And most people are still swallowing it like it's gospel. I've spent years studying propaganda and psychological operations and human behavior, and I will tell you this plainly. The media is not here to tell you the truth. It's here to shape your truth.
Okay, I think this is an advertisement. I am going to skip past it. Let me see what this is a graph of. Yeah, it's media stuff. Yeah, it's an advertisement. So I'm going to skip past this and go back to the behavior panel. Hold on, let me back it up so we don't miss nothing.
And start seeing the depth of what is actually going on.
Today, we're going to talk about Malehya Brooks Murry. She's the partner of Daniel Martell. And
thank you, guys. I see you were telling me that that's a commercial. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then I think it starts or doing something. They messed up editing, maybe. Tammy said police have ruled out abduction, though I'm assuming due to statements they took. Have they actually, can we verify that they have ruled out abduction? I know they didn't issue an Amber Alert, but that's because they have to have proof of an abduction and like a vehicle description and things like that. I know that they're saying that they didn't have any proof of it, but it wasn't necessarily ruled out. So I'll see if I can find confirmation that they're saying that there was no abduction, but I think that they were just saying that they didn't have proof of it, not necessarily that it was ruled out. Scott weaves these in beautifully. Takes a few seconds for me to realize it. Yeah, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, he does a really good job with those advertisements and sponsors.
Their children are missing. Greg, tell us about the videos we're going to watch.
Okay. Yeah, I believe they're stepchildren of Daniel Martell, but this is Lily and Jack Sullivan who are missing. This is their mother. She did one interview, and this is that interview. Very short. We're going to cut it into a couple of clips, and you can see what she had to say about the disappearance of her children.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home.
Yes, we are talking about Jack and Lilly Sullivan missing out of Nova Scotia, going over the behavior panel analysis on Malehya Brooks Murry, the biological mother. They are pinned at the top of the comment section if you are not subscribed, but I'm sure all of you are. Somebody does know what happened to those children, and I wish they would come forward. The RCMP always remained tight-lipped until they resolved it. And that's good. I mean, I've got respect for it. Like, right? I wish I could have more information so we could discuss it and share our thoughts, opinions, and speculations on it. But at the end of the day, it's what's in the best interest for the case and the investigation for them to be tight-lipped. Okay.
What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we.
Okay, y'all keep telling me that it's messing up. I mean, I'm wondering if they're recapping. I'm going to go back to where she stops talking, and then he starts, because I don't think it started with the guy in the top right talking.
Shooting. We don't control.
So at the end of the first one, we started with the guy talking in the top left, and then at the beginning of this, they start. Okay, let's see. I'm going to skip ahead just to see.
But first time I've spent any real time with him. I spent some time with Sadie on her channel, just quick looking and hip shooting.
Okay, they did. Okay, thank you guys. All right, let's go. I'm going to go right here.
Or it's reasonable that we didn't hear them. It's reasonable that they're outside playing. It's reasonable, because I think if it is disdain, the disdain is around how other people will see her as a parent because she's lost her kids. And that's a problem. You know, you have these kids, you know, you care for them. Or society's idea is you care for them. So society's main idea is you don't lose those things, okay? And so I think there's a strong fear this will be looked upon badly. Now, but it doesn't seem to me in this storytelling to be at a narcissistic level about this is all about me. I think there is the tension between I want my kids back, and it looks really bad that I've lost my kids. And the societal pressure of that. So there's two pressures going on. Where are my kids? I want my kids back. And even just being on camera saying this looks so bad.
Right.
Looks so bad. And
I know this is a repeat. I'm just, you know, letting it play.
Same time, I need to, and I mean, for me to say out loud that you know, anybody would be worried about how it looks to other people. Of course, they'd be worried about how it looks to other people. And you want your kids back. There's so many conflicting things going on here. Anyway, that's my take on it. Scott, what do you got on this one?
Okay.
All right. She talks about the three most important things to her in the world. And that's her children, herself, and them coming home and being home. She talks about home. That's the recurring thing that keeps showing up. So that suggests to me that that's what's on her mind, and that's all she's wanting to talk about. The thing with the ands might be the person asking the questions since she's not. When we go somewhere, somebody starts asking, but they don't have to say, "Here's what I'm going to ask," or "Here's the way it's going to go." Here's a list you need. We don't hear that. We just sit down and they can just not say anything, just go like that, and we'll start talking. But in this case, she might have said, well, I don't know what to say other than I miss him. And the reporter may have said, or the person may have said, well, tell us about this, tell us about that, tell us about that. Yeah.
And I reference, we all know Letitia Stout and the infamous interview she did with the news where she thinks that they're not recording and they're talking about, she's like, what do I say about this? And they're like, why don't you talk about Gannon, who's missing, and all of that? And then she goes back on camera and starts fake crying. A lot of times, I mean, you got to think, you got a stressed out, anxious parent who's lost their child going on a news station for the first time being interviewed. So I'm sure the news station often gets asked, what do I say? What do I do? Because the parents not necessarily thinking about talking to anyone at that moment. They're thinking about trying to find their child, not realizing that, talking to the media is going to help significantly.
What's bothering you? That may be part of that. So that might be why there's so many ands. But the first thing she says she does after she realizes they're gone is call 911. How many times have we seen people say, well, and it's been 3 or 4 hours before they called anybody, and they're like, well, we wanted to make sure, and we looked everywhere, and it was after supper now, and then, so it got dark. Excuse me. So we finally called, and here's what's happening. Not her. She's like, oh, they're missing. Oh my God, they're missing. I'm going to call 911. We should call 911. So that, to me, says a lot there, that she was on top of it, coming right out of the gate. So for me, the qualifying she's doing, Greg, goes back to that, what was going on. I think she's trying to tell exactly what was happening, maybe. So
I think she's telling a story. Whether that story is true or not, we can't tell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I agree completely.
Never know that. But so that's what that might be. But I'm not seeing any cues of deception, anything where she's looks like she's hiding anything. So, and to me, it sounds like what a real mother would say and do if her children were missing. Although I agree with you, Greg, that thing about and they were playing in the back, or they were playing outside and we can't hear them, when she would go back and qualify those, but not those.
Bears. They have bears. Just remember that.
Oh, okay. Okay. But there's none of that big story we get on the front end, like we hear sometimes, and you automatically.
I don't understand why he referenced bears. I mean, yeah, there's bears in the area. I'm assuming maybe because he's saying they're playing outside by themselves and there's a possibility of a bear strolling up. I mean, that's probably a possibility, but I don't recall the parents referencing bears specifically. So that was a little bit odd to me. I wanted to tell y'all real quick, this Chase Hughes. So when I use somebody's content, I try to go to their channel. I try to send them an email and say, hey, I would like to go over X video today. Do you mind if I do that? And I usually send them a super chat and say, thank you for this information. I was hoping to use your video. I hope you don't mind. And I saw that it said Hughes and I thought it was Gray Hughes. And I was like, I know y'all did not send me somewhere where we're going to be listening to Gray Hughes. Like, I know a lot of y'all don't like Gray Hughes, is why I was concerned, and I saw Hughes. So I was like, is this Gray Hughes or what? So I'm glad to see that it's not. I don't necessarily have a problem with Gray Hughes. I've not watched him. I've just heard what y'all have said.
We have to sit through a whole show, even with we know from that first sentence where they go, like that woman who burned her house down and came in. She was in the gym. What was her name? Or she killed her husband.
Rebecca Fenton.
Rebecca Fenton. So anyway, there I was. I was in the house exercising, listening to whatever songs I was listening to. All this, 5-minute buildup to, hey man, what happened? Yeah. So there's none of that. She gets right into it. So
hey, Mallory.
I don't feel like she's at this point. I don't feel like she's done anything, and I feel like she believes they're still alive. Like Mark said, there's a chance for them to come home. She believes that they still may be around. All right, Chase, what do you got?
So I think one of the things we can attribute those multiple ands to is 6 weeks of children missing means she has rehashed those details and that timeline 5,000 times with investigators.
Wait, but I see him putting up his finger. That interview was taken relatively soon after the kids went missing. So I'm sure she has rehashed it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. at that point to investigators, searchers, child services or whatever, because they would have come out considering there's another child in the house. I don't think she would have done it to the extent of it happening over 6 weeks, though, because I mean, you add another 300 or 400 times probably rehashing it to that over a 6-week period, as opposed to when they first go missing. I mean, by then you would have the story pretty much memorized by heart, whether it be the truth or a lie, in my opinion.
This is days. This is the next day or days
Okay.
later, Chase. Just for
Okay. Days later, she's done it dozens of times.
Yep.
3 or 4 police officers, a couple of detectives walk through, and they do that on purpose, even though the detective will come in and be like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to Detective Flip Flop over here, but I want to go back through the process and kind of confirm the timeline. That's very common, and I think that may be one of the reasons that she's kind of developed a habituation of just kind of going through those key facts that she understood were relevant for the police officers. The second point here that speaks to what you were talking about, Mark, is that when people talk about the number one fear being public speaking, we always kind of see that on these things. We have no fear of public speaking. The fear is of judgment, of social judgment.
Good.
And I agree with that 100%. Again, I reference the neglectful parenting that we've talked about. That's why the fear is of judgment from the community or media, what have you. Again, that's why she's referencing, we don't let them play outside. We always tell them not to play outside by themselves. I mean, if you've had to say that, obviously it's been an issue before. Again, and I mean, we can prove that again because I have it already up. I didn't take it down. Nope, I did take it down. Well, we can prove that again with the fence that they were attempting to fix. Hold on. So again, it's more of a social stigma. She's concerned about being judged. And they were already judged in the beginning about how the yard looked. So again, they've got the boards here. They're obviously trying to fix the fence, and I can show you where it has been fixed since then. I mean, there was already rumors out in the beginning. The property was a mess, so she was already being judged. And again, I referenced the slightly neglectful parenting. So I think it is more of a fear of judgment from all of that. And then here we can see in later pictures that the fence appears to be finished. You can tell that that's not open. Thank you, Bellis, for all of that. And that's where we were determining they weren't at the house during this birthday party because the sunlight was coming in from a window that would not have been possible to be there in the trailer because of the location of the sunlight.
But if you look at the actual hierarchy of that, your kids going missing is probably higher than that. That triggers more limbic system activity. So one of the first things I look for in any of these videos is the fear of judgment higher than the fear of missing children? And
oh, that's a good point. And I would have not thought about that. Is the fear of judgment higher than the fear of the missing children? And I would think, I mean, it does seem like she's more afraid of judgment by stating her story and reiterating, again, we can't hear the glass door if it opens. All of the things that I've just referenced. She does seem to talk about that more than she does the children, but maybe I'm interested to know what he has to say about it. Tammy said it was the one with the A detail about the day before seen in public that's concerning to me. And I wanted to ask you, so the one with the A detail, I do have a screenshot of that comment. That was referencing a party, and somebody put the word A in the comment, which I've always found to be off. The Canadians that I know wouldn't typically text A in a message or something like that. It seems like somebody was trying to appear that they're from the area that might not necessarily had been. And then the scene before in the, oh my goodness, the day before they were seen in public thing is talked about by the police. They did say that they had confirmation about that. And then Daniel talks about it in the CBC interview, says that he went to go see a coworker. So Are you you put both of them together? So I was wondering if I'm missing something or if you were talking about both of those separate things. Um, please let me know. Hey, Edith and Black Cat. How about the mom living in the backyard like she is? She might be on substances too, in my opinion. Well, we're not going to know if she's on substances. Hopefully, nobody is on substances. That's a horrible place to be. Um, I mean, it could have an impact on this. It could correlate. As far as, again, neglectful parenting, not necessarily keeping eyes on the children like you should if you are on substances. But at the end of the day, even if the mother was on substances for whatever reason, even if we're going to go down that road, she's living in the camper. And technically, it's not her responsibility to keep eyes on the children. It would be Daniel and Malehya's unless she was asked specifically to watch them in that moment. And nobody has said that she was. So I would think that she wasn't. I think she tripped herself up talking about the kids being outside by themselves. Remember, Daniel always said he had to tell the kids to shut the door. Exactly. Thank you for reminding me of that. And he did. How are the kids not playing outside if Daniel's always having to tell them to shut the door behind them? You can't hear the door. The one time that the door is magically shut behind them, they go missing. All of these things don't make sense. She didn't want the police to search her RV. Where did we hear that? I would love to know where we found that. Oh my goodness, are you okay, Tom? Bad girl hasn't been feeling good. She's got a lot of things going on. I will check up on her later and let you know that let her know that you asked about her. Just keep her in your thoughts and prayers because I know she's got a lot going on.
If it is, that means that the missing children, they either know what's happened or their children aren't missing. They were somehow involved in the children's disappearance. So they don't have that fear, which increases what we call performative behavior.
So again, he's referencing if their fear of judgment outweighs the fear of the missing children, then that would suggest that they already know what has happened to the children or where they're at. And now he's referencing performative behavior, basically putting on a performance to make people think that you don't know where your children are when indeed you do.
And we are definitely not seeing performative behavior, lip licking, extra makeup, hair adjustments, all the things where she's trying to build rapport and shape the narrative and change how she's being perceived. We're not seeing that. So right here, we're seeing the fear of missing children higher than the natural fear of judgment. That's all I got.
Let me ask you this. What's your temperature right now?
101.
101. So you coughing a lot or just like going, ugh?
Just a little coughing.
Yeah.
Like every half hour, I'll do just an old big boy.
Make a scene.
Thanks for making it work. This is sucky day to do it.
Yeah. I'm glad we do this on Zoom.
So if anybody's wondering what my voice, I'm octave lower.
It's not a bender. It's a
it's not been up all night. Well, maybe you have. Are you puking at all?
No.
Okay, that's good.
I hope he feels better.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet.
So again, it's weird to me that you know for a fact they were outside playing, but you didn't hear them at the time. I mean, that would be an assumption. Yeah, most of the time, I found Michelle After Dark to be trustworthy. I haven't found anything that's not real trustworthy on her page. I am very careful though, just because I get worried about Facebook posts and things like that, but a lot of times people will have information that others don't. So I've got to figure out how to decipher between what's real and what's not as far as Facebook posts. I know, we did a stream going over how to tell the lies from the truth. And I suppose I need to put some of those practices to work for myself. Okay, yeah, we did go over those interviews. So the CBC interviewed Daniel, they interviewed the police, and then they interviewed the biological father's mother. Um, and we went over those interviews. Thank you for telling me about that, though, Tammy. Malehya's stepsister Haley called in and recently shared that Daniel is a meth addict. In my honest opinion, I question that. She waits 65 days to share that information. Seriously, why all of a sudden now? Well, I mean, okay, if she called in, like, again, how do we verify it? Would be my question. I haven't heard it. Um, I would love to know where that's at. Um, if Daniel is an addict, I hope that he gets help that he needs. I mean, I don't know. It could. I need to tiptoe very carefully around that because it could play a role in this. I don't know. But again, for me, like I'm just like, if I hear that somebody called into a show and said, "Oh, I'm related," especially after all the T-Rev stuff, I'm like, okay, if you're saying you're related, I'm gonna need to see you on camera. I'm gonna need to see like privately some type of ID, some type of like even a freaking birth certificate. I'm gonna want to make a family tree. Like it just because the chances are so high that it could be somebody not related. Yeah, where did you hear that at? I would love to know.
And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, "Do you hear the kids?" And he says,
Right.
"No." And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and they
See, this seemed legit to me because taking my own feelings and thoughts into account, if one of my children or, one of my children, my bonus children, your children, their children, those children, any child I knew personally or something like that was missing, I would be very adamant about, okay, yeah, we need to search, but we also need to get their pictures out here with an Amber Alert. I'm going to need you to like make every phone go out. And considering it's been 2 hours, I would say within like, uh, uh, 4 hour radius of the point we're at now, I want it to be on every phone in a 4 hour radius all the way around so that people can see. People need to know to check traffic that are in traffic, look at the cars around them. Like I would be anal about it. And so I don't feel like personally in this moment, and I'm interested to see what the behavior panel has to say, but I don't feel like her saying that she was trying to push any type of narrative. I really feel like she legitly was just trying to make sure everybody out there knew that there's a possibility that these children could have been abducted because I would be wanting the same thing. In my opinion, she sounds like she's reading from a script. It reminds me of Jen Soto's interview. And they reference, that it's probably somewhat scripted because she's gone over it several times. And again, the behavior panel is going to pick up on her social cues, her behavior, her body language to see if it's scripted or she's lying. Hey, Tony. They played it on a Crime and Shame last night. Oh, I'm very careful with that channel. Um, yeah, I'm not going to talk about, I don't know. I don't watch the channel. I'll leave it at that. Longer time to make the children go away, in my opinion. Yeah, it's possible. Abella said, to be fair, she may have written it all down to make sure she gets everything out, and that's true. I heard Haley's phone call last night over on Dolly Vision. She didn't call him. He played her phone call. She said she saw the drugs inside their bathroom. Dolly also questioned her credibility. Okay, so yeah, evidently it came from It's a Crime and Shame, and then Dolly played it and went over it. Yeah. I mean, I would leave it at a 50-50. 50% says it could be, 50% says it might not be. I do know that supposedly the family talks to that channel, so maybe it gives us a little bit more of a probability that it could possibly be her, but I would still tiptoe very carefully around it. Totally scripted. She knows exactly where the children are. That's why she's not showing emotion and not looking. And to be fair, you got a point. She's not looking that we know of anyway.
It would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal.
And again, the biological father said they weren't verbal, and we've got the interview from his mother. So, like, I feel like, and she didn't even know that Malehya was living in that house with Daniel. Or not necessarily, I think she knew that her and Daniel were together, but like that they lived in that location. So I appreciate her coming out and offering what she could tell us about when she knew Malehya. But other than that, I don't know what else she can really offer. And I appreciate her getting herself, her sister, and her niece to go search. Tom said, I wonder if law enforcement has asked them to take a polygraph test, and they indeed have. Daniel Martell, over on the CBC interview that we discussed in the past, references taking a polygraph himself. He said Malehya took one, but he doesn't know the results. And I think law enforcement has said they've given out several polygraph tests to people in the community. Hey, Red Moon, it's so wonderful to see you. A name here said she only had a few minutes of airtime. The reporters probably told her to stick to the facts that she wants out there, in my opinion. And I agree. Everyone loves them. That's weird. Does she love them? Good point, Kathleen, and good question. In the video of his birthday party, Lily was screaming. She's verbal. Yeah. And we pointed that out too. I have that somewhere, maybe. I don't think I deleted it. I think it's still private on my channel. But yeah, I could tell that she was saying birthday, happy birthday. So I think she's very verbal. This is why police will not say how they heard the children were seen the day before. This obviously shows they can't rely on the witness. Well, I mean, and remember to state that that's your opinion. I think if the RCMP is going to come out and say that they have verification that they were seen in public, that we can probably bank on it. But I mean, I'm respectful of everybody's thoughts, opinions, and speculations.
And they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's
right.
Just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
Before we go back to that, Abellis pointed out, like we've talked about, she shook her head no quickly when she said everybody loves them. Lily's screaming may turn some people off. And yes, I'm glad that you pointed that out. Again, we have discussed that too. I do think that she definitely shook her head no. I remember going over that part and seeing it. And I think that she's doing that because, like the bus driver even reiterated, Lily screams at the top of her lungs, and Jack will throw his boots if you don't pay attention to him. And like we've discussed with that before, that's a learned behavior. In my opinion, allegedly, I would think that Jack probably tries to get the attention of the adults in the house several times, and they don't pay attention to him. And so he finally resorts to throwing something at them, and then obviously they're going to pay attention. So over time, he has learned that, hey, if you want an adult's attention, you have to throw something at them. And now that's what he does. That's just my opinion.
Should have worn your Hello Kitty shirt, Chase. That'd make you always wear that in your when you don't feel good. You should go get that.
Yeah, it's got a hole in it.
Okay. All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. So first off here, we get a whole bunch of positive comments about the kids. Yeah, which is really great. Often what we see or hear in cases where somebody has been responsible or knows something about the missing kids is that they will put out some negative ideas about them, almost kind of with an edge of kind of victim blame on them. Well, here we do get, they'll talk your ear off, which we've had from other people who were involved actually in the disappearance, where they've gone, you know, these kids they make a lot of noise, you know. And then she says, they'll speak to anyone in a store, everyone. Now, we could construe that as going, okay, so like they get themselves into trouble by talking to strangers, like anybody, okay? I don't think that's what she's getting at here. I think in Nova Scotia, where she's from, the culture is you talk to everybody.
And I appreciate, like I said at the beginning, that he is talking about the culture in the area specifically. I am grateful that they are taking that into consideration, because it does have an effect on people's patterns of speech and the culture in general. Carolina said, my speculation and thought they will always be that both siblings got bored and wandered off to play in the dense woods and unfortunately succumbed to the elements. I will always say that. It's possible. I thought that, you know, with the searchers going out and not having found them yet, that they were definitely not in there. But then seeing the interview where the CBC asked the head searcher who had been working in that field for like over 20 years, and she said that she thinks they're out there, they just haven't found them yet, made me rethink that.
In downtown Toronto, and this is Canada, like if I go around talking to everybody, like I'm going to get myself into trouble. In London, if I talk to anybody I see, I'm going to get myself into massive trouble, massive trouble. Tracy, when I first knew her in London, she's from Nova Scotia. Well, her family are from Nova Scotia, so she has some elements of that. She'd smile at people in the park and say hello and whatever. I'd be like, don't get involved. Don't get involved. And this was in London, you know, City of London. Don't get involved with anybody else. Just don't. We don't need that. So look, I think talk their ear off and talk to everyone, anyone. Those are both positives.
Okay, I'm glad he sees it as a positive. Starting over said, who was the mommer that threw her son in the dumpster scoring drugs? Reminds me of the demon Quentin. The only person I can think of off the top of my head would be Leilani Simon with Quentin Simon. And that we covered that case, the trial. I was a little bit late to cover the case, but we did go over the trial and talked about the case. That's the only one I can think of in that one, but there's probably more. Could be mugged or worse if I talked to the dipshits here. Oh my goodness. Be careful, Lori. Lily Gal, good to see you. Scotland. We sat, talk a hind leg off a donkey. That is so cute. I like that. I love Ireland and Scottish accents. And London, they at least say cheers. That's true.
Good kids. They're good social Nova Scotian kids. Okay. I appreciate the effort, she says. Okay, so but she says, and now there is a polite, gentle inference, I would say, that the police, the authorities, investigators could and should be doing more. But notice how polite it is, how politely she infers, like, get it together, tell everybody they're missing, come on, let's get this together. But she's being super polite about it. And you might go, why isn't she going, hey, come on, find my kids? Because it's Nova Scotia. Like, you don't.
I really, really like that he's saying that. Again, I really appreciate that because, yeah, it's important to understand that that's how they are. They're very polite. That's part of the culture. And I'm really, really appreciate him reiterating that. Hannah said, I don't speak to anyone in public. When I'm in public, people are scary. And I found that funny because Mr. Speculating and I and the kids went to go get stuff for camping. And we wanted to get some of those little like aluminum foil trays so that when I come home to work, I can cook and take it out to the campsite. And so I went in the Dollar Tree and they sat out in the truck in the cool air, because if I took all the kids in, then I would have spent like $50, and I'm not trying to do that. And I was walking out and I got in the truck and he said, "Boy, we don't got to worry about nobody talking to you. You look mean as hell." I said, "I'm trying to get things done. I don't got time to talk to nobody." I said, "I'm glad I look mean. People leave me alone."
You don't start shouting at the police. They're your next door neighbors. They're nice people. They're your aunts and your uncles, you know? So, so she is in her way asking for more help, which is important. Want them found, want them home. Everyone loves them. I mean, clear as day there. It's interesting. She talks about the possible autism, slower at school, needing more help. I picked up from just articles that are coming through on my feed that this family had been visited earlier by child services, and there seems to be some speculation around that. And of course,
there is speculation around that, and it's unfortunately something that we can't necessarily verify unless somebody come out, one of the parents, and said it. Lori Ann, I have RBF as well, unfortunately. Y'all will see it one day, because I'm trying to get prepared to be on camera for you guys.
My guess is speculation is around abuse. If you have kids that aren't doing well at school, the last place they will ever want to be is school. Okay, so they will find every way possible not to go to school.
Right.
Okay, and if you're a parent, you'll probably, knowing that they're having trouble, you'll probably help them stay off school a little bit. And the first indicator that any social services should be looking for is there some abuse at home, is why aren't they at school? But it doesn't mean that there's abuse involved. So it was interesting that she flagged that up. This is by the way, if you see the movement, this is Peach down here. There's Peach. Some people have said, I don't think Peach exists. Yeah, of course Peach exists. Peach is
big star
down
during
there.
COVID.
Yeah, Peach is down there. And that is real emotion at the end there. I have an ability to put myself very to have low empathy, and so when I'm analyzing, I'll put myself at a very low empathetic level in order to just try and work out what is the behavior, not what are they causing me to feel.
And that's always important. We're always going to feel, sympathy and compassion for parents of missing children. But if you're trying to analyze their behavior and the possibilities of what might have happened, you have got to be able to turn that empathy off. And it's important to do that. Again, this is a behavior panel. They are linked at the top of the comment section. If you have not subscribed, please do so. A name here says, Malehya is of a native origin. All natives are stalked by the ministry when their children are born. Sad to say, but it's true. One doesn't have to have a record of misconduct toward the children. That's interesting. He said, you sound like you were in your thoughts and didn't know. No time for extra. Yeah, I was thinking about everything we needed for camping and getting everything rude. People in my city are very unfriendly and rude. I'm sorry, Tony. A lot of people here in America are, unfortunately.
I felt empathy for her at the end, which
Oh, wow.
likely means it's a real emotion happening there, because I'm not able to cut it off very easily. Greg, what do you got on this one?
So let's talk about cadence. I'm not going to cover a lot of the same things, Mark, but what I will point out is you're right. When she's talking about positive, listen to her cadence. Bam, 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 bam. When she starts to talk about things that are negative, like the children's difficulty in school, she navigates and she slows. When she talks about the Amber Alert, she slows. Good, because she's saying good things about these kids. If you're thinking about negative things like, my kids are dead or gone, and you're not thinking of the positives of the children, even if you're saying positive things, it probably would affect her cadence. So good. That's good to see a variation in cadence, I think. She does pronoun shifts twice. Chase, I'm going to hand this to you because of pronouns. You're a big fan of pronouns too. So she says, we had people text me. Why? Don't know. It could simply be that that's a self-protective thing. It could be education. There's a ton of reasons.
So I would think the comment, "We had people text me and say that they didn't even know the children were missing." I mean, to me, what that says is that people were probably texting her phone and Daniel's phone, and in this moment, they're still together. They haven't broken up yet. So she's talking about herself and Daniel as a unit, as we. That's my thought process. I mean, again, let me reiterate that I'm just an uneducated person over here, um, watching things on YouTube. I guess experience. I have, knowledge, street smarts, experience, and things that I notice, but I have not been formally educated on it. But that's what I think when she said we have people text us. I really feel like she's referencing her and Daniel as a unit.
But we'll talk. I'll hand that off to Chase and let him talk about it next. And then there's another place where she uses the words "we." Where did I see that one? We all want them back. We. She says "I" several times. It says "we" twice. So those are
That I several times and we try. Lily Gal said, I think when now this is referencing Madeline Soto. I think when Maddie used to be sleepy at school, it was because it was the only safe place to decompress away from threat to herself. I was the same. School was a relief from home. I'm so sorry that you went through a hard time when you were a child, and I'm glad that you found safety in school. I think that is very important if we're going to veer off to the Madeline Soto case real quick, because we know that Stefan was abusing her while she was trying to sleep at night in bed. A lot of the times that they reference videos and images, again, it says Maddie appears to be asleep. So basically, the only place that she could even attempt to sleep and not be messed with or whatever was at school. So I think that is important. Hey, Alex. I just spent an hour in the grocery store talking to a lady I did not know. We were in the pet section. I can and do talk to strangers, but am careful who I talk to. That happened to me because I had a Grateful Dead hoodie on and I talked to a man about it for a while. The elders are fighting to keep the ministry workers away from the people. Only recently, some bands have their own police force. Interesting.
points that I would pay really close attention to and dig in a little bit and say, why is it we and I in different places? And the only thing in here that's negative to me that makes me want to poke a little bit, and it could be caused by emotion, it could be caused by her being overtaken by emotion and simply pausing, is there's a long pause for effect. At last night was one of the worst because I didn't have them in their beds. That's awkward. It is different from everything else in here. It could be because of feelings, but for just a minute, I'm going to say something I said to Sadie. Interrogator Greg is a lot less compassionate than regular Greg. Just think of this as an individual, as an interrogator. Sometimes we're aggressive and it's brutal in the interrogation room, especially when you're looking for children. So we would be a lot more aggressive with things like that question. I would be very aggressive with her and try to get to the bottom of it. Why did that change? I wouldn't ask her that outright. I would hammer her timeline, go back to those ands, because if you notice in this entire video, we don't hear that. That's gone. It is gone. So that storytelling in the first one with and, I don't care if she's done it 10 times. It's awkward because it disappears when we get down here to these details. So she would have my undivided attention because she's changed to a more smooth, fluid delivery about the children. That's good. To a slow halting when it comes to their learning issues. That's good. To a negative in slow halting when she's talking about lack of Amber Alert. That's good. But there are two things in there. Those pronoun shifts and that pause for effect would have me crawling all over her. And I said this to Sadie, sometime we should cover the difference in how much compassion we have for people in this situation and when we're the guy in the room. And I want you to remember that when you're dealing with a police interrogator, they might be the nicest, best people you'll ever meet, but they've got a job and that's what they're after. Chase, what do you think about those wheeze?
I do find that interesting, and I wouldn't have thought about that or thought to look into that or point that out before he referenced that, and I find that really interesting. The pronouns and the we's and the ands. Um, I would have just thought it was, speech patterns or context. That's interesting. Boomer said, I wonder if the mom had plans to separate from Daniel before the kids went missing, and I'm not sure. That's a good question. Kathleen said she never says their names. That's true. Hey, Parabola. Good to see you.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely some pronoun shifts going on there. And the first thing, if you hear a pronoun shift in any statement, is you look for context. What is it around? Is it around simple things or is it around some specifics? And the thing that she's getting the pronoun shifts around is communication and like the teamsmanship that usually happens between parents. And I think what's going on there, what we saw in the last video is there's a dynamic shift between them where they're kind of like separating from each other. They're not talking to each other anymore. And I think this pronoun shift is just kind of residue from speaking as a couple to speaking as an individual about certain things. And I bet they were probably talking to each other a lot and getting text messages at the same time.
So, I mean, again, it's interesting. Like I said, I haven't watched this yet, and it's interesting that he's referencing basically what I just talked about with Malehya and Daniel referencing when she's talking about the we, basically referencing them as a unit because again, they were together at that point. Crackerjack said he did state at one point, quote, "This wouldn't have happened if Malehya hadn't left." I remember that very clearly. And I've heard that, but I don't remember, like I've heard it on other channels, but I don't think I've been able to verify it yet or don't remember what interview it's in. Somebody pointed out that he said if Malehya hadn't left the night that they went missing, which again, I want to know where we're finding out that Malehya had left the night before they went missing or the night that they did go missing. That would be, I mean, it could possibly make me think a whole different scenario because she leaves and doesn't necessarily look for the children like Daniel does. Very early on, he said it himself from his mouth. Interesting. In my opinion, Daniel is a gaslighter, being so vocal, wanting to get his version across is sus to me. And a lot of people have found that suspicious. So many similarities to other cases involving children missing and their mother's actions. Very true. I don't remember him saying those words or I don't remember him saying those words either, but I'm going to look for it and see if I can find it because we need to talk about that if that did happen from his mouth.
And she's probably speaking in her old way of speaking when a relationship was active at some point.
Exactly.
And her being visited by CPS, I got visited by CPS when my son was in the first grade. He had a shirt he refused to wash, and he wore it for 5 days in a row. And I was like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. You're in the first grade, but you will change your socks and underwear. So the next Monday, CPS actually came to the house. So I have probably some documented CPS visit. I just let him do it. I didn't care. But yeah, everything here is non-performative. She's being nice about the Amber Alert because she needs resources from the police. So she's not trying to act angry and act mad. She needs resources and help, and she desires it. So it's not a performative thing where she's trying to talk about all this stuff. And maybe there's something in Canada where an Amber Alert means an abduction. I think it means missing child, not abduction.
So we have looked it up, and just so that we're all aware, we're going to look it up again. So we're going to ask what criteria is needed in sorry, I can't do two things at once. What criteria is needed in Nova Scotia to issue an Amber Alert? And right here it says to issue an Amber Alert in Nova Scotia, the following criteria are needed. And number one, most important, police have confirmed that an abduction has taken place. 2, the victim is a child or proven physical or mental disability. That was checked because there was 2 children. There is a reason to believe the victim is in danger of serious physical injury. That is also true because they're small children and they're missing. So obviously they are in danger of serious physical injury. Number 4, there is information available that, if broadcast to the public, could assist in the safe recovery of the victim. That's not necessarily true in this situation because if they were in the woods missing, broadcasting the information to the public wouldn't have necessarily helped because you already had searchers in the woods that were aware of the situation. But again, the most important thing and reason they didn't was because they have to be able to confirm that an abduction has taken place. And they were not able to do that in this case, so they didn't. Also, with Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, the same thing happened, and I think that's why they're trying to change the laws as far as Amber Alerts go. Struck me as strange at the time because the children had only been missing a couple of days. Daniel exhibits cluster B personality traits, and the way he is loving in the limelight. All his interviews are self-centered and him. I agree. That's hilarious. He let the boy have a choice. Yeah, a mother would have at least given that shirt a little spin, right? An abduction by family members, they need a license plate number or color of car. Exactly. I heard that as well, but can't remember where I heard it. I know I need to verify it or have medical conditions. I do see a lot of red flags. One parent is talking way too much and the other is way too quiet. And I agree. Awesome. Is that good, Hannah? I don't know what side you were going for. We used to get a lot of Amber Alerts on the phone, but I haven't seen one in a long time. I haven't either. The fact that mom disappeared afterwards doesn't look well for her, and it doesn't. Well, mom ran. What does that show us? Good point.
I think it's a missing kid,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe they were giving her some kind of BS about it. I have no idea. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, and I agree about that, about the Amber Alert as well. When she wouldn't have brought that back up and said, we need to have that happen, she would have wanted to go away. She wouldn't want anything to happen to help find the kids, or say, no, we can rule this out, and she doesn't bring up this. One thing she doesn't do is throw out those classics like they could have been abducted. They, this could happen, that could happen. So many different things could happen. Like if you're
injecting ambiguity, I think.
Yeah.
Real quick, I wanted to just going on that. How do you tell the truth from the lies? Crystal Burns pointed out. I also heard the mother of the children brought them to New York in the U.S. So I don't know how true that is. Just what I heard on a podcast the other day. And now, we hear that on a podcast. It has not been verified. But when I hear things like that, I ask myself, okay, so if we're hearing it, obviously the police have heard it. Okay. So if the police think or know that the children were taken by Malehya to somebody and they are in New York, would we not see that Malehya had been arrested? Would we not have the kids recovered by now? Now, yeah, it's possible that could have happened. They're waiting to get more evidence on Malehya to arrest her, and they haven't found the children in New York and are looking for them. But the probability of that being true is very unlikely. More than likely, if those things were true, the kids would be located, the mother would be arrested. Kraken said if she was going into protection with Meadow from Daniel, then it was perfectly acceptable for her to disappear. We don't know the circumstances at all here, and that is a good thing to point out. We don't have Amber Alerts here in the UK. It sucks. I don't know enough about it, but your bar for criteria for Amber Alert in the US seems too high. I agree. I think that's why they're trying to change it, specifically with the Travis Decker situation. The fact she ran makes me think she knows exactly where they are. A lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, it's like in okay, let's go to interrogation. When you're dealing with somebody who's at a bank and there's a bunch of stuff, there's something missing, and they'll say, well, who all could get into the safe in there? How hard is it to get in? Oh, shoot, man, you can get in over here. You can do this. You can do that. There's so many people could get in. Everybody get. And you talk to somebody who didn't do it, and they go, you can get in one way. You got the key. We all know where it is. And then you ask, well, who do you think would have done this? It's Ken.
So I did. Kraken said mothers and children are often homed where their partner doesn't know where they are and should not know. And I don't want to make this about myself, but I mean, I can inform you that I have been in a domestic violence shelter. I've been 2 different ones. I think I've been a total of 3 times to domestic violence shelters. And yes, they do home the mother and the children in a shelter in a place where the father cannot find them. But the police are involved and know where the mother and the children are. It's a government-run facility. It's usually a house that is not like it looks like a normal house where a normal family would live, that they've made into a facility or place that parents with a child can go and be safe. There's no signs that say, domestic violence shelter or anything like that. That's out in the country. I know where one's at in the city too, but it's like a building with security and things. But again, the police would know that they're there, so I don't think that that's a possibility, honestly. Oh, I'll start a poll. He possibly could be. We don't know. I used to be an addict, but I have been in recovery for a year and 8 months. We do recovery. We do. I was an addict as well, and I don't say recovery because you couldn't make me do that again. We do recover. If he is on substances, I hope that he gets the help that he needs. Joy, thanks to parents, did it. Malehya and Daniel had a pass that sealed to Cracker's theory. Yeah. I'm sure the RCMP know exactly where Malehya is. Oh, yeah, I'm sure they know where both parents are. As long as the police know, that's good. They have interrogated her after all. Yeah, they have, and given her lie detectors. So I think if they were involved, they would be arrested by now. That's just my thought.
Ken did it, and everybody goes, it's Ken. They'll all say that anyway. But we don't have that situation here. I don't know why my brain went to that. But so she doesn't throw all those things out. And then it's been raining there, and she's worried that they're soaking wet and that they're cold. And so she's hoping they're in stay alive mode, in other words. So she's worried about that. She's thinking personally for each one of them, the cold and it's rainy out there. Then she says, she goes, we thought we found tracks. So she sees herself as part of the effort to find them, part of that psychologically, part of that whole group of everybody working together. We don't see that when there was that one couple where the two little boys were missing, and they didn't talk like this at all, not even a little bit. They separate them. Oh, they're looking for this, and they're trying that, and they're going to do this, and we're just here, sitting around. And we always go, why wouldn't you be out there stomping around looking too? How do you have time to sit in front of a TV camera and talk about these things and tell what you think? Why wouldn't you be out there too? You can tell this woman she's there, but she's not there because she's worried about those children. That's why she's looking away and looking down. She looks dazed a little bit to me. Right. So I think I'm not seeing any kind of deception cues at all here. And I agree with you, Mark, there at the end. Man, I felt sorry for her. And again, like I always say, becoming an interrogator has enabled me to be I always knew I could be. And I can look at those things and go, nope, I don't care. But that got me too. You could just see it on her. I think that's the pain of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, anybody else? We good?
Yeah.
They're both really good.
Okay, Joy said, I'm more aggressive since I've been back in the latest Gypsy Rose shit. Guys, don't take it to heart. Oh, you're good. I don't watch Gypsy Rose. I have a soft spot for her, and it's probably not healthy, so I don't watch Gypsy Rose. I feel like that child, I don't care what she did. Like I don't necessarily think it was deserved, but I'll never blame her for the way she is. After all the shit she went through, having your damn saliva glands removed, and there's not even anything wrong. Like, I can't, I'll always have a soft spot for her as being a victim of Munchausen by proxy, I do believe is what it is, or Stockholm syndrome, one of the two. I'll never blame her for any even the way she acts, immature, selfish, whatever. I don't blame it on her. I blame it on her mother. So I don't watch it because I've heard some horrible things. So I just stay away. I'm gonna see, a lot of people feel like that. She is horrible. I know all the facts, and she's not a victim. So that's why I stay away. I'm going to step to the restroom real quick while we listen to this part of the interview, and I'll be right back.
Lucky children, they're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued, not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been. But just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's
Hey, Linda, good to see you. Thank you for dropping by. Avril said, I'm wondering why the RCMP didn't insist on searching the cupboard in Daniel's mother's trailer that she kept them from with an excuse about her dog. That's interesting. I would need to verify that through a news source. Because I don't think that she could deny them entry when the children are missing. That's an exigent circumstance that would grant them entry because it's a building on the property. Hannah said Munchausen by proxy, now known as fictitious disorder imposed on another. Thank you for that. I was reading about the Dylan Eller case, and there are some similarities that just give me a vibe that in this case they were trying to recreate the similarities. See, we've talked about that and compared Dylan with missing Lily and Jack Sullivan. After all, they go missing from locations that are 37 minutes apart. But like again, with the boots and things like that, we talked about it with the Bellis. I think it just might be normal for the area. Lots of snow melt, lots of I think it's just a I would say culture, but a thing of the area, unfortunately. It was on another YouTuber's channel. I would be careful here. I mean, again, if we can't verify that, I would be real careful because, I mean, going back to how to tell the truth from the lies, do you really think the RCMP, like if she said, oh no, you can't come in here and search my cabinets because of my dog, even though my grandchildren are missing and they could possibly be in here in a cabinet deceased, like I don't think that that would fly. I think the RCMP would be like, well, you're going to have to do something with the dog or we're going to take it to the Humane Society because we're coming in this house. That's just my thought. I mean, so I think it could be true, but I doubt it.
It's always in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
All right. This has been a fairly interesting one. Mark, what does it look like to you so far?
Yeah, I'm just going to pick up on one thing here that we heard before. It's this piece of I didn't have them in their beds. Greg, I think you picked up on this idea that there's a real difference in the way that she pronounces that. I didn't have them in their beds. I think that's about responsibility. That it's your responsibility as a parent to have them in bed at night. And if for whatever reason that hasn't happened, you feel if you're a great parent, you feel responsible. I would say
that's interesting. I would not have picked up on that she's feeling responsible for the fact that they're not in their bed or, upset because she doesn't have them in their bed where they belong at night. That's interesting. I would not have picked up on that. The same YouTube claims kids are missing is all a hoax. Oh, really? Interesting. Munchausen by proxy, mothers make their kids seriously ill and even kill them just to get attention. And yes, exactly, Anders. In my opinion, the children are not alive. The parents did something. You think so? Statistically, they're not alive. Like per statistics, they're not alive. But I don't know. You have no soft spot for them. You love Scott's voice. You really have to ask for the source when you hear something. You do. You do, because people put out misinformation all the time.
Say being a parent is, though you love your kids, it's more about responsibility than it's ever about love. I mean, you can love somebody and be totally irresponsible about the whole thing. You know, responsibility is a whole different level. What I get from this is there's a real dreadful feeling of responsibility that she has. At the same time as I want my kids back, there's this nagging feeling of responsibility that it's down to, it was up to her for them not to go missing. And there's that battle all the way through. That's where the tension is. If you see tension in this, if you see something that you're worried about in this, I think it's that, her managing the horror of her. She for whatever reason lost responsibility at some point, or wasn't responsible enough. Chase, what are your thoughts?
Hey, Ava.
Which we've all done. You know, we've all had a moment of neglect. We've all had a moment where you know, something could have happened and didn't, and something did here. And I'm willing to bet she was in that bedroom the night before this was recorded, and she was probably sitting in there crying on the floor, or just sitting in there. That's heavy, and that's probably hitting her. But what we don't see here, that we see in a lot of the other ones, is perception management and performance. We're not seeing her try to change how people are seeing her as a person. She is behind her eyes. Her awareness is way back behind her eyes this entire time. And when somebody's performative, they're all the way out here because they need to check in with everybody to make sure that everyone's buying their story. Everyone is buying what they're selling, and she is selling nothing to anybody.
I see that.
Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit on this one, because I'm middle of the road on this one, candidly. This one, because of the and that pattern, makes me really uncomfortable. I'll just.
Yeah, and I'm interested that he picked up on that, because again, I feel like it's just like generation, the way that, you know, that generation talks. So I'm finding it interesting, and I appreciate a lot of the things that they are pointing out. I'm learning quite a lot, as I hope you are. Red Moon said, I believe, in my opinion, the kids got into illegal substances in past, then hidden. Just speculating. It's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. 36 years, that is amazing. And Crystal, I'm so proud and thankful for all of us that were once addicts and are no longer addicted. That is a hard thing. I heard this saying, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but basically it says people who were addicted to substances are actually very, very strong, especially if you're able to put it down and walk away from it, because it's like you've been handed something that at the time you feel like is the answer to all the problems in the world that you've ever had. And you're able to still put that down and walk away from it. It makes you stronger than other people. And I always liked that, because it's very true. I mean, you know, when we were addicted to substances, we were self-medicating and using that to just make everything stop. And it's like you've been handed this cure-all, and that's not really a cure-all, that you think is a cure-all and you feel psychologically is a cure-all, and you were able to put it down and still walk away, and that makes you even stronger. I'm glad that you are. He's a really good analysis. Thank you, Jeremiah, and it's good to see you. Mercedes said, I keep hearing that Meadow was apprehended, but I can't find anything on mainstream media to confirm that. Yeah, I heard that she took off with Meadow supposedly, but again, I can't find anything to verify it. 5 years sober, February 18th, clean date. Yep, yep, exactly. And very awesome, Parabola. I hope that I'm proud of you, and I'm glad that you were able to do that. He's usually so sharp, even in activewear. Only 90 days, kids.
Say that. I would, and remember, I took the approach, I'm looking at this like I'm going in to interrogate this woman. And so when I look at that and I hear that and, it feels a lot like a 911 call to me. And it feels a lot like telling a story instead of saying, hey, here's what's going on. I do understand she's asking questions.
Let's do percentages real quick.
Yeah, let me finish this piece and let's do a percentage. So for me, I agree with everything you said, Mark. This Child Protective Services piece is a data point for me, because if she's just told this story, she's going to have and in her mind because she needs to validate if something's happened and she's had to protect herself, for example. So I get it. That part could affect the story. But there's also responsibility on the part of us. And to your point about her feeling responsible, yes. On the side of the interrogation team, on the side of the guys who are doing the work, I would have the responsibility to say, there's an anomaly. I want to know why. I'm not saying she did anything. I'm saying this would get the worst of me because I would tear every detail of the story apart looking for any deviation. And I do think these people live kind of a marginal life. If you saw their place, it reminds me a little bit of Don and Candace. The house is in shambles, that kind of thing. So they probably are accustomed to having to accommodate reasons why things occur, because everybody knows if people make excuses for why things are the way they are when they can't control them. When you're marginalized, that's the case. So I'll give her the benefit of a doubt there, but say if I were interrogating, I would.
I'm really glad that they pointed that out. It's not necessarily that she's trying to make it. I mean, you know, when you're in a situation like that and you can't just, you know, when you can't afford to do certain things or fix certain things and things look run down or whatever, marginalized, as he said, you do get used to having to make excuses like, well, you know, the fence isn't finished because we need to buy nails and we haven't been able to do that. We're going to do that when Daniel gets paid again. Whatever, you know, the glass door isn't fixed because a glass sliding door, if it was broken, just an example, costs, you know, whatever, $500, $700, $800, I don't know, and we haven't been able to afford to fix it. So we just kind of, you know, hey y'all, I'm here. Hold on. Ugh, the breaker flipped and trying to get my computer to start up again. I apologize. I don't think I can share on here. Yeah, I the breaker flipped. I have no sound. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Oh my gosh, computer, don't be stupid. My internet's booting up. I'll try to put it on my. I'm trying to put it on my hotspot or something. I'll try it on this until I get it. Okay. Hold on just a minute. Oh, it restored everything. All right, I'm gonna go out of here so it don't echo. I'm coming in now. All right, here I am. I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me pull it back up. All right. The breaker flipped and I lost service. I'm so glad that y'all are sober and everything. You know, it's not an easy thing, and I'm very proud of y'all. This is so much more interesting than what is being spewed on other channels and the airtime being given to useless family members. This channel is so educational and unbiased. I agree. And you do so much to get and spread the legit information. It opens other areas. Oh, you met me. Oh, well, thank you, Mercedes. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. That was a very sweet thing to say. Thank you. I'm so glad to be back. That portal was crazy. All right. Let's get back to it.
The house is in shambles, that kind of thing. So they probably are accustomed to having to accommodate reasons why things occur, because everybody knows if people make excuses for why things are the way they are when they can't control them. When you're marginalized, that's the case. So I'll give her the benefit of a doubt there, but say if I were interrogating, I would take that story to pieces. I would just go after the story there, because it is not fluid like the second part of the story is fluid, which makes me very uncomfortable. I'd say if I were going in, Chase, with a 60-40, I'd say 60% I don't trust her, 40% I do. How's that?
Okay. Okay, interesting. SD, thank you for being here. I don't know if I said hey to you yet. It was reported early on that Child Services told Malehya she either had to vacate the property due to horrible living conditions and maintain custody of Meadow, or stay and give Meadow to the county. And I find that interesting. We heard from, I think, the RCMP, possibly Daniel, one of them, that I think it was Daniel, that they were going over areas that had been searched by the RCMP and possible locations of the children. At that point, Malehya went and sat in the back of an ambulance, I'm going to assume because she was having a panic attack, and then left with her mother. We do know that Daniel got to see Meadow, and there's a picture of that interaction on his page, and that for some point of time that he was asking to see Meadow through CPS and was not able to. I don't know. I don't know. I would think that they would take the child from both parents if that situation was going on, but it is possible that they let her keep the child as long as she moved to the reservation with her mother. Do you hear? Oh, one sunny day. You might be behind. I hope that you can hear me. Well, thank you. I try to, and I'm glad that y'all do too. Mercedes, oh my goodness, thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that. Mercedes said, I know paying for documents isn't free. No, it's not. I usually have to buy documents or buy sources to obtain the documents. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Yeah. Yeah, I'm running my mouth. Thank you so much, Mercedes. That was very sweet of you. I really appreciate it.
I was going to say, what is our percentage for each one of us that that the disappearance of these children was not a willful act?
You mean something these people caused in some way?
Right. Willfully.
Thought out. Not an accidental situation.
Right.
Yeah. Well, accidental goes a lot of ways. I'll leave it at that. I will say, in terms of thought out, masterminded, some plan to get rid of, I have zero doubt in that something, whatever happened, was not planned out.
Yeah, I'd go the same. Zero.
Yeah, planned out.
So basically, either way, he's saying that whatever happened wasn't planned. If the children are deceased and the parents know about it, then it was more than likely some type of accident. Or they were abducted or ran off into the woods, missing, what have you, and that wasn't planned either. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Thank you, Avril. I didn't mean to cough in y'all's ears. Different laws on reservations in Canada. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Could they be part of it? Different story, different equation entirely. Because you feel grief if you cause the death of your own child, for sure.
But what bugs me about this, when little kids get up, they want to eat. They're not going to be outside goofing around.
Yep.
They're going to be coming in there going, hey, what's going on? Why isn't she up already? You know what I mean? We need to eat. But that's the first thing you do in that the protocol of the day for kids is they want to eat.
I don't usually do this, but since you're bringing it up, if I live in a place with bears and I got a silent door in my house, I'm going to fix that. Number one. Number two, nothing looks silent in their house. There's a whole lot of story holes that I wasn't touching that I would say, okay, hold on. But look, I live in the woods. If I had a child here, every door I have would have a childproof lock because we don't have bears. But what we do have is woods and creeks and rivers and all that kind of thing. So forget all that. I was just trying to give her the benefit of a doubt on the story and say, I'm not thinking that she came up with some idea. Might not even be the kids are gone that they're still living and gone. Who knows what the story is? I'm just telling you that with this short 2-minute video that we just watched, 2.5 minutes, it's difficult to know because she's not challenged on any of the questions, my opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna.
And he's got a point there. I agree that nothing in that house is going to be quiet. Sliding glass doors, they get, I mean, even just from rain, and consider rain and snow in the area, they can get rusted out on the bottom. Little bits of debris can get stuck in it and they make noise. So, yeah, it does appear that nothing in that house would have been quiet. And they talk about how quiet the door was, how they were able to slip out the back. And it is the one time that they actually closed the door behind them, which is really weird. Oh, well, thank you, Carolina. I'm glad you got us back. You need a Basil hug? Oh, Basil is in here. He's been sitting right in front of the air conditioner. He's been there for like the past 2 lives I've done. My girlfriend is from there. Yeah. Her mom lives 10 minutes down the road. Oh, wow. Interesting, Jeremiah. Trying to channel, yeah, with the portals.
Okay, well, here's what I think. I really like this one because I think we're seeing true emotion, and we're seeing somebody who hasn't sat for a long time and structured the story and say, I've got to do this, I've got to say this, and I'm like you're saying, Chase is non-performative. Like you're saying, Mark, it's true emotions coming out. So I think we're seeing real emotion. I think she's really upset about that. Now, having said that, like we're talking about, whether it's her fault or his fault, I think she would. The thing is, here's what I learned is she hasn't talked to this guy, Daniel Martell, since all this happened. They haven't talked. She has shunned him, in other words.
Yeah.
Won't take his calls, won't text him back, nothing. So maybe she thinks there's something going on that he caused it or didn't care enough or something like that. That's the thing that gives me pause to say something might be up here with this. And another thing I want to talk about is Chase and I are now enemies. But Mark, what I'd like to do is Chase, let's me and you team up and be a team together and add Mark to our team. And since Greg went against all of us, let's get rid of him. Let's kick him out of this thing. Let's team up and we'll be friends. And then get rid of Greg.
Then we'll have a 3/3 majority.
Yeah.
Basil did just come over here after I mentioned him looking for attention. So I wanted y'all to know that. He's coming over to say hey and give you a hug. Kathleen said Malehya doesn't look in the camera while talking. She is lying about everything, in my opinion. And that's a possibility. I mean, and I respect your opinion. Red Moon, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that. And that was very sweet of you. I like the little heart. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Cracker said Malehya's behavior towards Daniel also speaks, and it does. I've stated a couple of times that I do find it concerning that with the kids missing, you can't just put your differences aside to make sure you're in the area while your children are missing and you continue to search. Because my thought process would be I could get, I don't have to stay with you or be with you if I can't get along with you, but I'm going to be here and search the area for my children because this is where my children went missing from. You would not be able to make me leave. I appreciate you, Red Moon. Thank you. I know there's a lot of coyotes out there and they're bigger than anywhere else. The packs from Truro to Cape Breton are bigger because of a wolf 100 years ago. Oh, goodness. That's crazy. I didn't know that. I lived in Africa for 20 years. Oh, wow. Kids and wildlife requires parents to have eyes in the back of your head for sure. I couldn't imagine. That's really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about that, Greg? Now, who do you agree with?
Me.
So, but doesn't that make sense though? I mean, if she's getting rid of that guy.
Well, no, look, if she thought he did something, she'd probably throw him under the bus. Mothers have a lot of mothers have an instinct to say, that guy's a scumbag and I want him in prison and here's why.
Well, and also remember the number one.
So they are talking about if Daniel and Malehya fighting. And do you really think that she wouldn't throw him under the bus if they wouldn't throw each other under the bus if one of them did something and the other one knew? And do you think that the police wouldn't have been able to get that information out of them with the interrogations, the polygraphs, and all that? I think this couple was having relationship problems. I think it had been there for a while.
thing that is most likely to happen when you lose a child in any way is that you will break up.
That's correct. Something like 2/3 of people, if I remember my numbers right, who lose a child split. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Pray for those kids.
Yeah,
For
sure.
those babies, man.
For sure.
Really.
For sure.
All right. Thanks for another good one, fellas, and we'll see you next time.
The behavior panel.
Well, kind of thinking, then bye.
Good call, Chase. To the percentages too. I thought that was helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
You got your smart glasses on?
What time's the canasta game start, Chase?
So this is like a little after show. I do want y'all to know that I did check while we were watching that, and I went to their page, and they do have one on Daniel, but it's an hour and 18 minutes. So I don't think that I'm not gonna have time to go over it today. If it was like 20 minutes or something, I would be able to. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to end it here today, but I do want to go over them talking about Daniel with you guys and talk and share our thoughts, opinions, and speculations on that as well. Jeremiah said, I don't think they will because they're both in fear of getting in trouble. So do you think that with the police questioning them, the polygraphs and all of that, they would still be able to hide that? I'm not so sure. I wonder if she was having postpartum depression after having Meadow. Possibly. They are cute. Until you're staring down a splitting cobra, scorpions, and a giant huntsman spider. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Daniel is manipulating the situation. She is staying away. Yeah. Daniel triggers my spidey senses. Interesting. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to end it here for today. It is Saturday. I do need to get this pork belly in the stove if it's going to be somewhat tender by the time we eat dinner. I want to tell y'all thank you for being here with me. I hope that your 4th of July celebrations were everything that you hoped they would be. And I am going to be working on some things, as always, like I always am, for Monday when we come back. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed going over the behavior panel and their analysis and learning what we were able to learn from that. I found it very interesting and intriguing. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate the support. Just hitting the thumbs up helps more than you will ever know. I really enjoy our time together every day. Carolina said, I think Malehya was struggling with PPD from her infant daughter birth. I know her name, but I don't like to use her name. Also, Malehya most likely wasn't aware of it. That's a very good possibility. Oh my goodness, Snarky Pants, my gracious, thank you so much for the super chat. That was so very sweet and supportive of you. Thank you. Snarky Pants says, AS, your channel just improves and gets better all the time. Your insight is amazing. To see what you've overcome in your life and where you are now and how you grow every single day is an inspiration. You're going to make me cry. Thank you. That was very sweet. A lot of you have been through a lot of things as well. I think we can all inspire each other, but thank you for that. That was so sweet. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was really heartfelt. Thank you. I love y'all. Y'all make my day. I know I try not to say it too much because, people get upset and talk about parasocial relationships. I really do. I care for y'all. I love y'all. I recognize people who aren't in chat. Sometimes the mods will point it out and I'll recognize it or I'll remember myself. And I look forward to seeing all of you every day. You guys are really amazing and insightful too. And I'm glad that we can talk about things openly here and not be judgmental and just look at all perspectives and be respectful of that. I can't thank you guys enough for that. And I love y'all. I love this channel and I love the community too. Parabola. Wawa, I think it's a gas station from what I've heard. That was so sweet, Snarky. Thank you. Yes, I hope you are all safe. And with that, if nobody has told you, you are important, you are enough, you are special, and you are loved. And I will see y'all on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye.
the